there's like a good response from the initial video that we did.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
had someone message me that saying maybe the three of us should do a call sometime and talk. So
Oh,
that
right
would
on.
be
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I have to interview her still first. Um, but I
Wow.
don't think that's till later. But yeah, yeah, get like a bunch of people with the same thing together and talk would be kind of neat.
That would be very cool. And it's very helpful. Just meeting you and talking to you has helped me tremendously. Get through a lot of stresses. With this thing because it's kind of a never ending. Just it never ends. It comes and goes as far as symptoms and shit like that. But it's you've definitely helped me a lot. I mean, Ari, honestly, with kind of just I watched a lot of your videos and stuff like that on how to basically kind of be an advocate for yourself because doctors are so some not all some doctors are so I just think they just don't know about dysautonomia and all the umbrella everything underneath that umbrella term, you know what I mean? So it's
Hmm.
very rare to come across a doctor that knows what they're talking about. So um but yeah, you've helped a lot for sure.
Well, thanks. I'm happy to hear that. That's why I started the channel in the first place, was to be able to
Yeah.
help people and help people
Hmm.
not feel alone with it, because it is a very isolating thing and there's not tons of videos about it out there. So,
Yeah, true.
and it's very complex. Like I know we had talked about how we both have like high and low blood pressure at
Yeah,
times.
sure.
And even that, like ours is quite different in that regard, because yours happens when you lay down, correct? Low blood pressure.
Yeah, it does. It happens when, I'll get down to like 90 over 50 and my heart rate gets into sometimes the 40s, but mostly the like stays around in the 50s. Even before I was on medication, for some reason I've had that forever.
Hmm.
Um, when we were just years ago, I'll rewind the clock, 15 years ago when I was married, typical symptoms of POTS, you rush to the ER, and then when you get to the ER, it's gone. And they would, I remember one night they kept me overnight, and when I was going to sleep, I was still in love, so the relationship was still new, so we were both laying in the hospital bed, and it was cute and whatever. Nurses would come in and laugh and this that, and the other, but we were still in love, right? So but even then, just lying down with the machines and shit, I would trigger the alerts because my blood pressure would get to like 90 over 40, and
Hmm.
they would run in thinking I was coding or some shit, and then we would get startled, and then they check my vitals again, and it was normal. I mean, and so yeah, it's always been that way, even before beta blockers and alpha blockers. So um, it's weird, But then again, I have the hyperadrenal subset, so when I stand up, I go from rock bottom to fucking sky high. So it's a big bridge to gap. It seems like, which is frustrating as shit.
Well, that's why initially I had gotten diagnosed with the just POTS. Like they were like, oh, it's just, it's just POTS. There's nothing we can do about it. Just wear compression stockings, eat salt, blah, blah, blah. Your blood
Yeah,
pressure goes low, whatever. And I was like, actually, I have these readings from my blood pressure cuff that are really high. And they're like, oh, it's probably nothing. And so this was like before I even knew there was subsets of POTS. And having had talked to a doctor in a different part of Canada, and they kept telling me, no, we want to put you on calcium channel blockers or beta blockers. And I tried those and neither worked for me, because I got tongue swelling, so I can't take them. And then I ended up seeing a different doctor in a different part of Canada, and he diagnosed me with the HyperPOTS. And I was like, see, that makes sense because I get the high blood pressure, but I do also get these like crashes where it goes super, super low, like 60 over 40, and I feel like absolute garbage. So recently we've started doing some uh like mitidrin, which I haven't tried yet, but I'm gonna try the mitidrin because, as my heart doctor said, it's called a squisher drug. So essentially, when your blood pressure is low, it increases your blood pressure. So it's not something that I was recommended to take all of the time, even though on the pill bottle it says to take it 4 times a day. But my
that's good.
doctor said, like, take it when you have those bouts so that it brings your blood pressure back up. Because if I'm in a hyperadrenergic I don't know, crisis or whatever you want to call it, where your blood pressure is really high, you take something like that, it's going to make your blood pressure higher. So that's not
Yeah.
good. So it's knowing when to take it.
When to take it. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I get those episodes, I just like, I'll wake up, I'll feel like I have a hangover and a headache, and I'll be like really, really lethargic, and then I'll
Yeah.
black
Yeah.
out all day, essentially. So those are my low blood pressure days. And so I'm interested to try it when that kind of thing happens again, because
Yeah. Sure.
if it brings it up, like my blood pressure up, and I'm not having that low blood pressure, I think I'll feel better, essentially. So I've done everything the doctors have said, so to make sure that I have a better quality of life. And one of the things I meant to ask you about, because you said you go to the gym,
Hmm.
right? So my POTS doctor had initially told me that using something called a recumbent bike, like one that's like it's like a laying down bike, is better for
Yeah.
people with POTS. Do you do that?
You know what? It's interesting that you say that, Ari. To everything that you just said, I'll start in the beginning. Yeah, I do have bouts of, like I was telling you, low blood pressure, and that medicine, from what my newest doctor, which was a neurologist that I went and saw,
Yeah.
I've been dying to talk to you about this girl. She, mentioned that was something on the table, for me to try out, and that there's so many different ways you can kind of do it. But she said, think of it like this: with HyperPOTS and POTS in general, all three subsets, and this made a lot of sense. She said, imagine your blood pressure and your vitals are a car. You want to keep it in the middle of the road. You don't want it to go too high or to the right, or however you want to visualize it, or too far to the left. So the that as needed medication that you're talking about, may help you keep it in the middle. Keep it on the road, because you don't want to go too low and too high. And I asked her, I said, why does someone with my subset, hyperadrenal POTS, go low? And you know what she told me? She said, fuck if I know. That's straight up what she said. And I was like, you know what? I appreciate that, because she said,
Yeah.
she said, look, she said, it's dysautonomia. And she said, all bets are off the table. She said, there is no rhyme or reason to it, as you know. I was like, fair enough. So, but she also, to tie into what you just asked about the gym, um, I get real pounding hearts, like pounding heartbeats whenever I go to the gym. So I have to time when I take my medicine. So, and it can be counterproductive too, because if I go when my beta blocker is wearing off, my heart rate will go to the normal range, but it'll be
Mm-hmm.
pounding like a motherfucker, right? I've never luckily passed out or anything like that, but I've come close, I feel like. So I have to take it. I have to go to the gym at about 3 to 4 hours after I take my beta blocker, which is every 3 hours, or I'm sorry, every 8 hours. So if I do that, that's when it reaches it's when it's strongest in your blood level. And it sounds stupid that I've kind of mapped that out, but you know how it goes. You got to do that kind of shit. You just got to kind of time everything. So the gym has helped me. If I don't go for a couple of days, my symptoms get worse. So even though it sucks when I'm in there, I've just reached the point where I'm like, you know what, fuck it. If I pass the fuck out, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like I've literally mentally reached that point. Whereas I would go, not go, to the gym from fear of passing out, or from fear of people like, oh, what the fuck is wrong with him? Because I've got a weird thing in my head that I just don't want anybody to see me going through duress. Which is, I don't know if you share the same thing, but she actually told me something that is free that you can get online. It's called, have you ever heard of the Levine or the Levine protocol? You ever heard of something like that?
No, no.
Well, it's a cardiologist that she said, you know, made this protocol for people with POTS. And it's a 9-month program. And it starts out with strength training and also cardio. And it lays it out every single day what you do. And you start really small with small increments, and then, just work your way up to it. And it primarily focuses on, from what I've read, lower body, and it helps, pooling. It helps, it supposedly helps all subsets of POTS. So I just started that yesterday, actually. And it's very, very small at the beginning. Like, I mean, we're talking like a stationary bike. You know what I mean? So the whole thing is they want you to work out not standing up. I'll send you. I'll send it to you if you want me to. It's a PDF file and you can read it. It's kind of complicated as shit, at least for my dumb ass. But you could probably figure it out way quicker than me. But yeah, apparently she told me that there's a lot of people that have really reduced their symptoms by this. So she asked me, what my workout protocol was, and I said, well, if I do too much cardio, I'm fucked the next day because I'm in a hyperadrenergic state. And she said, yeah, that's just because you're overtaxing your adrenals, and I can't get out of fight or flight mode. So yada yada yada. I'm gonna try this this protocol out. So to answer your question, yeah, I have heard of that. As of when I saw that new neurologist a couple days ago.
Okay. Yeah, the recumbent bike is actually what my cardiologist had suggested initially, but
Mm-hmm.
for some reason I was so brain foggy that when he said to exercise, I just have like a stationary vertical bike. And so I told him
Yeah,
I've been doing it on that, and he's like, "Well, no wonder you feel like crap." but, but at the same
that makes
time,
yeah.
I'm still trying to do it. So like between him and another doctor, I decided to do like 10-minute intervals and try to work up to 60 minutes a day instead of trying to
That's
do it all in 60 minutes, because when I do it all in 60 minutes, I can't use the bike for like 2 to 3 weeks. So I feel
do you
like
have
crap.
do you have the hyper like high
Yeah,
you know
like yeah. So I also don't
okay.
put like a bunch of tension on the bike. Like, how you can make it like really hard tension or whatever so that it's harder
Yeah.
to like push. I don't do hard
Mm-hmm.
tension anymore because that
Yeah.
also was causing a lot of hyperadrenergic problems. And by the way, you're not a dumbass. So just to clarify,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome.
That makes one person that thinks that.
Well, you're
Um,
not. It's important to talk nice to ourselves. I've learned that over the years, and sometimes I
that's
still say not so nice things to myself, but I'm trying to get better at that because I find that I don't want to believe those negative things about myself. So
yeah. The worst I'll ever talk about somebody is about myself. That's how I always am.
I think
Uh,
most people are like that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I'll send that to you. I think that
Yeah.
I think there's something there, yeah, because I'm like you, I haven't been able to find the middle because if I, it's like I have the energy to do it, but if I do it, I know I'm going to be fucked because it's gonna for 4 or 5 days straight, I'll just be sky high blood pressure and just bouts of that fight or flight feeling, and
Yeah.
nothing gets me out of it, and then I'm too stupid to stop drinking coffee because I just refuse, man. I'll die with a cup of coffee in my hand, I guess, at some point. But I try to cut it down. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely something that I think you're onto something there. With that, it's crazy that you asked me about that because literally I just saw this new neurologist, and she is going to try me on some new shit. So hopefully we'll see. Kind of nervous about it.
Well, I hope
All
it
right.
helps. Yeah, it's understandable. Trying new medication is always nerve-wracking. I have
Yeah.
that as well. Like I haven't tried the mitadrine yet, but I know it's supposed to help, but I have had a lot of allergic reactions to prescriptions, and some of them I
I know you
still
were
can't
telling me.
even name. So like I'm on that like edge as well, but there's like the
Yeah.
other side of it, trying it, and if it does work, then that low bout of blood pressure could essentially stop, right? Like there are some side effects from every medication, but
Sure.
I'm willing to risk those just to get some relief. Because
I know.
sometimes like those days it's like I have to do a test or something, or I have a doctor's appointment that I have to leave the house for it and then I can't. So it's kind of like I don't want it to get in the way.
Right.
I want to be able to do those things. So
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I found that my stress and anxiety, like I think I was talking about this last time we talked, whenever I have to go to a doctor, I think just from all the years of going to these doctors and them not knowing what the hell I'm talking about or vice versa, um, I just get anxious when I have to go to the doctor now because I just know it's going to be bullshit. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
um, for a lack of a better term, but yeah, I know what you mean. Whenever I'm weird, whenever I start new medication, what I'll do is I'll just kind of dip my toe in it. I won't take the whole thing. I'll just take a little bit. I'll like cut the pill in a fourth just to see if I'm going to have some weird, reaction. And then just kind of build up to it, which is, it's probably overkill, but I mean,
No,
you
I
know,
don't
uh,
I don't think so.
if I take Sudafed, I don't know if this is with, in your
Oh,
case, if I take Sudafed, it jacks up my POTS to, I mean, my blood pressure will go sky high. So,
What
I
is
have to
that?
watch. Sudafed,
Yeah.
it's like it's like a cold medicine over the counter. Um, but it's really bad for people, with POTS, or some people with POTS. So, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't think of it, like normal people, they can just take whatever, I mean, it doesn't matter. They can just go to the store and be like, oh, let me get some allergy medicine. But I take it and then I'm, on the floor for 5 days. So it's, you know, I'm kind of like the dog that ran through the screen door. You do it once and then you're just going to be sketchy to go through that door again, even if the screen door is not closed. You know what I mean? So, um, there was a guy at my work. There's a guy at my work. You're not going to believe this shit. He is recently diagnosed with POTS. No shit.
Oh wow.
I've never met, aside from you, anyone else. He doesn't work at the store I work at. He works at another location. But good guy, came out just out of nowhere, and he just couldn't even move out of bed, peeing in 2 liters because he can't move, which I
Mm.
know all too well, and he went through the workup of cardiologist, doing every test known to man, Holter monitor, the whole 9 yards. And finally, they said, "All right, well," I said, "Man, ask him to do a tilt table test." They did a tilt table test, and his vitals went through the roof. So they started him on metoprolol, which is what I started with years ago. Didn't help me much. The propranolol helped me a lot better, but very interesting. It's unbelievable, honestly. It's there's still part of me that wants to think this shit doesn't exist, but it does. So it's so
Yeah, that's
weird.
understandable. I think that's part of like the grieving process because when you end up with illnesses, you have to grieve and go through that process with them, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And sometimes it's that, nah, it doesn't exist. And then stuff happens and it does exist. And you just got to go through those stages of grief to get to that acceptance point and you'll be good, which will take a bit. But that's okay. You can do it.
yeah. Well, I gave him your YouTube page.
Okay.
So yeah, he's done a lot of research. He's gone down the hole, the rabbit hole of everything because, when you're desperate and you can't move, it's
Yeah.
you become a believer of big pharma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends that are like, oh, medicine's bullshit. I'm like, if
Mm-mm.
you had what I had, you would understand that it's not bullshit. So yeah,
Yeah, it can help a lot. When I had my cancer surgery was when my symptoms got like the worst, but someone had asked recently on like a video when my stuff started, and I've had heart palpitations and stuff like that since I was a teenager. So it's
me
been
too.
there for a long time. Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
yes, me too. Um,
Wow.
it, if I don't take the propranolol, which is kind of the heart rate controller, if I lower, because sometimes I want a little bit more energy, and I'll
Hmm.
manipulate the dose. Just if I just like if I want to stay up late and binge watch a movie on Netflix or something, I'll cut the pill in half, right? And I know I'm going to pay for it, So, but it's sure as like clockwork. I'll wake up in the middle of the night with just palpitations. So yeah, I've had them forever, forever.
Do you
Yep,
also get like sweats at night?
yep, yep.
So I wonder if it's a POTS thing because I've been telling doctors that for years. And that happened when I was younger too. I'd like soak sheets and no one
Yep.
could ever tell me. And I
Hmm.
just had a really bad bout last night where I woke up shivering and was like
I did too.
soaked in sweat. Really? It's so weird.
Yes, I swear to God, I did too. I woke up at 4 o'clock when my cat
Me
was on.
too.
Yeah,
That's fucking weird.
I'm not bullshitting you. I swear to God, I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was like sweating my ass off, and it was
Me too.
68 degrees. Yeah,
I don't even know. I don't even know what temperature it was in my room, but I was just like, oh, what the hell is happening? I'm like sticking to everything. I had to like pull all my
yep,
blankets off. Yeah, I've been telling
yep,
doctors that for years. Like, I keep sweating. I keep having night sweats. It's probably because of your thyroid cancer stuff. I'm like, I don't think so. It's been happening since I was young. Like, and whenever they ask me, how long has this symptom be there? How long has that symptom been there? I'm like, decades. Like, a
yeah,
really long fucking time.
yeah.
That's
And what's funny is,
interesting. Holy shit.
yeah, I have them. I've had them forever. That was actually one of the first, symptoms that I started having
Was the
before
sweat.
anything else was the
Huh.
sweats and the heart palpitations just out of nowhere,
Me
and it freaked me
too.
out, because I was like, oh fuck, I'm getting ready to die, you know what I mean, or something,
Yeah.
like, and it's because it's scary, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and after, yeah, I'm sure you've been through this after cardiac workups, and they're like, well, it's not your heart, and so then I was left with zero answers, but I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
cool, it's not my heart. And then my brain is like, maybe they missed something, So yeah, I fuck it. I've reached the point now where I'm just like, I mean, literally, I woke up at 4 a.m. sweating, and it was hot as shit. And I just woke up and I went, God damn it. And I went up and got some water, you know, messed around with my cats, gave them a couple treats, and then that was it. I just, laid down in bed, and then as soon as I, dozed back off, it was time to wake up. So, yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone.
You're
I go
not
through that
alone
shit.
either. Shit. I've been trying to figure that one out, and I'm glad I asked that question because it's been so many years of so much sweat. I sweat. Oh my goodness. I sleep with like this by my bed. Like it's a
I was
beer
going to ask
stein.
about that. That thing is huge. I was going to ask
Yeah.
if it was beer in that thing.
No, it's water.
No, here's to you.
But having like a big glass right next to my bed, it's literally like right on that little coaster over there. So when I
Yeah,
wake up, I just like chug the whole thing back to
right.
sleep. Because my
Well,
mouth
see that.
gets so dry halfway through the night.
Me too. Me too. Um,
Fucking
I got a
tough.
continuous glucose monitor,
Okay.
and started with that thing, and my glucose dips in the middle of the night. So that may be something,
Oh,
because glucose can, from what that neurologist that I saw, she was telling me, she was saying that it can mess with your blood sugar too. So what I've been noticing is dips that go into the 50, but then they correct themselves during the middle of the night, and that could be the release of adrenaline trying to raise your blood sugar back up. So that may be something.
I
Um,
crave sugar a lot, and I find I feel better if I eat sugar. So I have like little candies that I keep or whatever in
mhm.
my bag and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. And if I start to feel it's kind of like not a nauseating kind of feeling. I don't know how else to
right.
explain it, but I feel
Yeah,
nauseated, and then I'll have one and I'll feel better. And it's just from a candy. It's just
that's
like that
probably,
sugar.
yeah, that might be, that might be something to look into too. I know it's one more thing to throw into the heap of bullshit to worry about, but
That's okay.
yeah, you know what I mean? So, but
Well,
you look so. I'm sorry. I don't want to turn this into like me hitting on you, but I'm just saying you look so great every time I see you. I don't understand how that happens. Like if you never told me that you had dysautonomia and this that, and the other, I would never ever in a million years think it. I mean, like
well, that's the EDS. It just makes me look the way I do.
that's great though. That's great.
I guess so. My parents look really young for being in their 70s, so people at my
Really,
mom's church will be like, "Oh, you probably," she'll talk about her son, be like, "Yeah, I have a 50-year-old son," and they'll look at her and be like, "What? You look 50."
that's awesome. That's awesome. You're gonna love that later on in life.
If I make it that long, we'll see. I got a lot of health problems, so if I
Well,
make
so
it
do
that
I.
long, it'll be awesome. So,
Well, now I think you will. A friend of mine that's a nurse, he was doing, all this workup and research and everything. And he said, listen, man, the comorbidity with someone with POTS is, it's not going to kill you any more than it is, than just regular life will. So I'm like, well, it sure doesn't fucking feel like it.
yeah,
Um,
that's true.
every bout that I have from it, I feel like it's like, I'm like, this is it. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah.
So
So,
I have a question, and I'm not a
yep,
doctor or nothing, but
yep.
just from personal research and reading, hyperadrenergic POTS has a tendency to go along with mast cell activation. So
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever been tested for stuff like mast cell disease, especially if you have a lot of like drug allergies.
Yeah. I think I do have a little bit of that, honestly. I think I asked that neurologist about it, and she said that she would. It's probably tied in. So we're going to do some testing.
Okay.
She's in Virginia, which is about 5 hours away from me.
Yeah.
So when I try this newest drug, which is called Ivabradine, she's
Hmm.
going to replace the Ivabradine, replace the propranolol with the Ivabradine.
Okay.
We'll see what happens there. But after that, she's going to, then test for, do further testing for that. Um, what, how do you test for that? Do you know?
For mast cell, so there's
Mm,
a couple different tests. There's one that's called a KIT mutation, which could indicate that it's a familial thing, so like a genetic
uh,
disorder that causes like hypertryptase, which means high amount of mast cells in your blood. And then there's a blood test, which is called a tryptase test, that they do to see how many mast cells are in your blood, essentially. So there's
Okay.
two different ways of testing for that. One is getting like a baseline, so going and getting blood work, getting the tryptase done when you're not having a reaction. And
Uh-huh.
then when you are having a reaction, getting that tryptase done. So when you
I see.
feel like absolute garbage, dragging your ass to the blood place so that they can take it and
Right.
determine if that number changes. So normal range is 0 to 10, and I'm between 14 and 17, but that's never been while having a reaction. So I
Oh,
am going for one when I have a really bad reaction, which is going to be really hard for me because I can't walk. So when that kind of stuff happens, I'm going to have to somehow get my ass to the fucking lab, which means
shit.
I'll have even a worse reaction. But that'll help them see if I have mastocytosis, which is one that can actually be treated with chemotherapy.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. So I also have to go for a bone marrow biopsy because mastocytosis will show up in your bone marrow. And I've already had two of those, both which I went into shock from the first one and almost went into shock from the second one. So I'm very apprehensive about doing it, but if I do have it and it can be treated with chemo, I want to pursue that.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
and then the other test is I think it's a 24 or 48-hour urine test. So they give you like this big pee jug that's like orange. And sometimes they'll give you two, depending on how much urine you produce. And with HyperPOTS, you tend to produce more because you have to go to the bathroom all the time. Every time you fucking stand up, you have to go pee, which
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No. Right. Yeah.
which people are like, why are you always going to the bathroom? Like, because I just stood up. Like, it's a
Yeah.
fight
No
or
shit.
flight
Yeah.
response, right? Like, when
It
people are
is.
in fear, they pee themselves. It's a thing. So yeah, I have to
Yeah.
pee all the time. So that one you have to store it in the fridge though. Like if you don't and you leave it out, you'll botch the test. So
Yeah.
make sure you have space cleared out. They give you like a little pee hat and you like put it in there, and then they
Mm.
can test it that way. So it's a really good like battery of tests to do. And I've
Right.
had everything but the kit test done, and I'm asking them to run that one because there's people in my family that have problems as well. And if it is a kit mutation, that'll help people in my family get diagnosed.
Wow. Well, that's it. It's almost like, when I hear you talk about all this, it's a, it's so, it's like a never ending puzzle. It feels like,
Yeah.
if that's how it's like for me. And I'm sure I can tell it feels like that for you. You know what I mean? And you're just trying to find and not giving up, and it's hard not to give up hope, but, it's trying to find, get to that next, level in the game to try to figure out, okay, well, maybe, and who knows, maybe in our lifetime, maybe they'll come out, they're researching a lot of pills right now from what I've heard
Yeah.
for POTS and mast cell activation. I mean, so who knows? You know what I mean? So I've had that P jug though, by the way. I had to do
Okay.
that every 6 months. They test for, I'm sure you know this, the markers for epinephrine, for adrenaline, basically
Yeah.
epinephrine, I think, or epinephrine, and metanephrine or some shit. I don't know. It's something ephrin, everything ephrin. They
Yeah.
check they check for everything ephrin that ends with ephrin. They check. So, and every year they're like, "Hey, you're fucked up. Here's some more pills." So,
Yeah.
um,
But
yeah, yeah,
it's okay. It's okay to be fucked up. Like it's okay to be sick. Like it
yeah,
sucks, but it's okay to
yeah.
be sick. So
You know, I become my own. I become ableist on my own, like against myself sometimes. You know what I mean? Because like,
yeah.
I'll get in this thing where I'm like, "Fuck," nobody else is walking. And then I realize I'm like, "Wait a minute." There's a lot of people that deal with this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that deal with it. And so it's easy to get down on myself, a lot of times. And that comes from people too that are like, you know, kind of like what I just, described on how, good looking you are, which may have been a little bit of me trying to hit on you, but, uh, still, nonetheless, there are people, you know what I mean? People do that to me too. They're like, "Oh, you look fine. There's nothing wrong with you." You know what I mean? And then I'm like, "Oh my God, I feel."
Yeah.
So, I hope you didn't take that the wrong way. I
Oh
didn't mean
no,
it.
no, no,
Okay.
no, no. I just think it's funny that you keep trying to pick me up.
Yeah. I mean, we all
Like I
far
don't
away
mean
though,
that in like
but
a rude way or anything,
we
but
can we can go we can hang out in the metaverse. I mean, you know what I mean? But no, it's, I like I said, I'm hard on myself about it. And I don't know if you're the same way, but a lot of times I just have to realize, look, man, I give myself a break, you know. So and the guy at my work, my friend, is dealing with the same thing right now because no one knows what the fuck is wrong with him. And they're like, when's he coming back to work? And his wife was like, he's pissing in a bottle. Like he can't come back to work until this is fixed
Yeah.
up. And they're like, was it a heart attack? And if people don't hear heart attack or something that, broken leg or something that they can see and that they already know about, then it doesn't fucking exist to most people. So
Yeah,
that's
which is a problem.
it's a problem. It is. So, you've helped me tremendously since we've met and virtually met. And, so hopefully, he's gonna stalk your page too. So he won't hit on you though. All right, he's not gonna hit on you. Okay, I will definitely probably continue to do so. But
Okay.
but he's a married man.
Well, just make sure before I post this that he's okay with you talking about that stuff. Because if he's not, I have to cut all those sections out.
Okay, sure,
Yeah.
no problem.
So just
He's
check
cool
in with him because if he's like, no, I don't want any of my information out there, then I have to cut it out. And if he
No,
wants to talk about stuff as well, you can always see if he's up for that. But I
yeah,
know what it's
cool.
like going to try and get diagnosed and not being on meds and how shitty you feel.
Oh my God.
So he
Yeah,
can come at a later date and do this kind of thing if he likes.
yeah,
That's an open
sure,
invitation. It doesn't have an expiry date. And that's like
cool,
that for anyone watching. If you want to participate, just comment down below.
awesome.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you chatting with me again. And it's interesting that we have like similar symptoms and ones that doctors have been unable to figure out. And that's kind of like my hope with like doing this kind of thing is to have a bunch of information so that maybe eventually it'll get big enough that doctors will see it and then they'll be able to add those symptoms to symptoms lists, or at
Sure.
least be like, if a patient comes in like, I'm having night sweats, do I have cancer? They could be like, well, actually, it's more than likely from your HyperPOTS, right? Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Because none of my doctors have really been like, it's from your HyperPOTS, so
Yeah. I know it's so crazy. I mean, it's so crazy. I mean, it's all about finding the right doctor, and hopefully this doctor that I'm with, will continue to kind of be open and be willing to try, mad scientists, new shit for me. So, we'll see.
well,
But I'm excited for you to try that medicine as well.
well, thank you. You let me know if you try it, and then we can do like another follow-up kind of thing. I sound like a
Yeah,
doctor. I'm not a doctor. Follow-up. We can do a follow-up podcast.
your
Like,
glasses make you look like one.
they were the only ones I could afford.
They're what?
They're the only ones I could afford. I have to
What
get
do you?
new glasses. Well, they were cheap. They were
But they look
cheap.
amazing.
Well, thanks. I like
They
the
look
bigger
amazing.
frames. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's me hitting on you again.
Can you like my glasses?
All right. I'm getting embarrassed now, so I'll go.
Oh, I'm not trying to embarrass you. I can cut that stuff out if you like.
No, you're good. You're good. I don't
Well,
get embarrassed. Um, it's weird. I don't get embarrassed talking to you. So
that's
I,
good.
I feel like I'm embarrassing you though.
I'm not embarrassed. It takes a lot for me to get embarrassed. And if I am embarrassed, I start to get heart palpitations. So I don't think I'm embarrassed.
Okay, well then you look very hot today. So
Thanks. I only put on eyebrows.
thumbs up.
Thanks. My eyebrows are very thin from having like radiation treatment. So yeah.
Well,
And if I get to that point of being able to have you cut
it's working.
you cut out. It totally froze. It cut out on your face. It was just like
Did it
frozen.
did it cut out?
Yeah.
Am I frozen now?
No, you're unfrozen, but I don't think your
Okay.
mouth is matching your words. I think there's like a time delay.
This is where I need to admit something to you. I'm not real. I'm actually in the Matrix.
That's
I'm
okay.
AI.
I'm AI too.
Are you AI? Oh shit. Okay. All right. Are you Chat GPT?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. The
I
green
thought
hair,
so.
it's
I
so
thought
that I
so.
can put different things on my hair. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, I think the meeting's gonna run out here in 2 minutes. So is there anything else you'd
Okay.
like to add or?
Um, let's see. I've said you're hot like 3 times. No, we're good.
I'm not like Beetlejuice. If you say it 3 times, I'll appear.
Fuck.